Good evening. This is another Tarot Tuesday from Reverend Adam Hayden. Um, if this video is jumpy, it is because my Wi-Fi is acting up and my computer is being slower than usual. Here I thought we were out of Mercury retrograde, but evidently we are not. It's been a week. I've had a lot of stuff come up in my life lately, and I'm very grateful and blessed for it. I have been asked to submit some of my work to Pendrake Publishing. For those who don't know, Pendrake Publishing was a publishing house created with a group of people, including someone I looked up to, Peter Patton. Peter Patton was a Welsh witch here living in California. He was born in Wales. He was a cunning man, a Dun Hispus. He did his best to put out the work that a lot of people were not interested in at the time, and that was traditional witchcraft, not Wicca, traditional witchcraft, which was a completely separate concept at the time. Well, needless to say, Peter Patton was granted entry into the other world a few years ago, and I believe that the community has lost something very vital with his transitioning. And so I thought it was very interesting that I have been asked to give my work, to get it out there and maybe have it published. My dream as a child was always to become an author, to run a metaphysical shop, and to teach and practice the craft. Do what I've always done. And to now have at my doorstep, so to speak, the opportunity to put my words on paper and have it to be read by God knows how many people. That is a very humbling experience. Now, there's many people in my generation of the craft that we tend to get this chip on our shoulder. And I'm not saying the chip is an ego, but it's more of a imposter syndrome. We do what we say we do as witches and as people. But many people don't realize that we are very, very careful about how we present ourselves, that we are not to be placed on a pedestal or anything. We are human beings just like everyone else. And so sometimes we feel, as teachers and authors, sometimes we feel that we could not even amount to many of the others out there, that we feel that we are not as good as other people think we are. And it's hard. And I was reminded about this by one of my patrons. And, I've really been thinking about it. This imposter syndrome. But while I'm at it, talking about my patrons, I would like to do a shout out to my patrons. To BJ, Jill, Elaine, and Angad. You are my rock, guys. Thank you for all your support. For those who have been following my work on Facebook, you will also know that I am beginning a study group for individuals who are interested in going through Robin Artison's book, Ancaro Gwyn. Now, Ancaro Gwyn, in my opinion, is like a foundational text for a next phase of development for mankind. We see it in the scientific world as deep ecology. These are things that the indigenous people across the planet once they didn't need to believe, they knew. There's a difference between belief and knowing comes from experience. Well, Ancaro Gwyn is a hearkening back to a worldview that has sorely been lacking in the world in the last 5,000 years. We have been in a constant set of turmoil because we are not in balance with ourselves, we are not in balance with others, and we sure as hell ain't in balance with the world around us. We have created a vertical hierarchy which has set imbalances across the whole world in many different arenas. I truly believe on Carl Gwyn and its accounts of the Fayerie people, of the Undeadian, the true gods behind the gods. I believe that remembering them, learning about them, and yes, their records have been hidden, but have been written down and have been passed down to us in such things as the Ballad of Tam Lin, of Thomas the Rhymer, of, there's just so many, like even the Grimm's fairy tales hold so much wisdom that was once held by the pre-Indo-European invasion that it completely wiped them off the planet. And Carl Gwyn is a very important book, and I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone who is even interested in the words I have to speak, because I am a fairy traditionalist. I am one of the fairy faithful, truly justified in my interactions with them over there. Now, I do not say these things to boost my ego or my pride. It is merely what I do and what I am. It is something that is part of my blood and bone and stuff, as water and air in my lungs. Now, as for the tarot reading for this week, the 3 cards that I picked was, we will start with the 9 of Pentacles. Now, the 9 of Pentacles is about self-sufficiency. Now, in the typical deck, the 9 of Pentacles shows a well-dressed woman standing in a beautiful garden. She wears a flowing golden robe and a red beret, signs of her wealth and social status. The vines behind her are heavy with grapes and golden coins, representing the fruitful accomplishment of all her desires. Her right hand rests upon one of the many coins, and her fingers wrap around the purple grapes on the vine, symbolizing her healthy relationship with money. She can enjoy the fruits of her labors without overdosing it. But symbolism shows us one of abundance, luxury, and financial independence. In the last year, we have seen a complete change in our economic system, and we will continue to see that change. People are realizing what skills and gifts that they truly do have, and that these gifts can be used to provide blessings for their household, to provide financial independence away from a 9-to-5 job. And I think this is something we need to really look into. We need to build greater infrastructure so that people like me can do what we do and be supported by our community and by those around us. Certain laws should be lessened and others should be increased. But see, this card is about self-sufficiency. We are learning how we can bring abundance into our lives. Now, one thing I do, and it has shown to be true, is the working of simple money spells. My wife has done one of her own little rituals, and I've seen it manifest around us. Somehow bills are able to be paid. I was given this offer with Pendrake Publishing. And I have people who support me, and I appreciate all of you. But see, we need to also look into those around us, our friends, our family, those who are also struggling in these times. One thing I learned really early on is that where your money goes, there goes your heart. Your money is your vote. It is where you put your time and energy. And so, I want you to really look. I want this to be the week you look through all your bills, through everything, your receipts. Really look through. And do you support these companies and businesses? Do you support their policies, the way they influence politics? What about the ingredients that they use in such as the food you eat, stuff you ingest, you bring into yourself? How do they treat those animals? Do they use pesticides? If so, maybe, just maybe, you may want to transfer your funds into other arenas, such as local farms, local breweries, and local businesses. Not these big businesses like Amazon and Google and all that, but where your heart really is. And so this idea of self-sufficiency means that you're going to have to move your money around in many different ways. And now that we're coming out of the Mercury retrograde, now would be the best time to really do that research. In my daily tarot that I do on TikTok and on different other social media platforms, today was, I believe, the Fool card. Now, the Fool card is one of those funny cards. Originally, there were two Fool cards in the deck. One with the guy holding a sack that was empty. Another one that went on the other end of the major arcana, and that one had a full bag. Right now, we're at the empty bag. We're looking away to fulfill that bag. And in the bag, in the Fool card, that was life experience. That was spiritual development. But it could also be financial independence. As for the next card that I pulled was the Queen of Wands. This is a card of confidence, courage, independence, being a social butterfly, and having that determination. This is where the idea of being self-sufficient really comes into place. Now, the Queen of Wands is a woman who sits on a throne, decorated with lions facing opposite directions, the symbol of fire and strength and balance. In her left hand, on her crown, and behind her are sunflowers symbolizing life, fertility, joy, and satisfaction. In her right hand, she holds a wand with one small sprout springing to life. A black cat sits at her feet, a sign that while this queen is bold and outgoing, she is also in touch with her shadow self, the darker, lesser-known side of her being. Now, the Queen of Wands, Wands being an air elemental correspondent, is about knowledge. Do you have the knowledge to seek that goal of self-sufficiency? Do you really get what all entails to pursue your business, to pursue your goals? Now is the time to really sit back and do that research. Do you have what it takes? Do you believe you have what it takes? And I think that's where the important part is. If you don't have that belief, it ain't going to happen. And so the wands, usually symbolize of air, can also symbolize fire, because it is a strength of will to use that knowledge into practical application. And this is where a lot of people get fuzzy, because A.E. Waite, being a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, was known to play pranks to keep, the outsiders out and stuff. And so the elemental correspondences between fire and air, when it comes to the wands and swords, it's kind of can go both ways, and it really depends on the situation. Then finally, with this reading, we came up with the Strength card, which is about influence. Influence. Is also connected to the idea of how we interact with others. When we can have the strength and the courage persuade, to use our compassion in a beneficial environment, we are said to have influence, magnetas, or whatever it's called. We have that ability to create conscious changes in our environment. And so we can have the money, we can have the knowledge to use that money, but do we have the strength to back up our words with it? That is where true inner strength comes from. And so, yes, this was a shorter reading than I expected. I know that the internet's still pretty wonky, but I would like to reach out a vine. If you are interested in participating in the Nicaraguan study crew, this is a patron-only event. Only because I'm still learning software, and these people have willingly donated value to what I have to do. That we're using each other as guinea pigs as we begin this new adventure of online study groups and book learnings and stuff like that. And so a lot of my time is going to be focused on that. And so that's why I figure it gives me a chance to work on my communication skills, on my not being so introverted, and something really fun to sit there and do with other people. So if you are interested in participating, my first video for that is going to be on the 26th. February 26th. I believe I have it set for 3 o'clock, but I may be changing that depending on schedules. I may end up having to move it to the weekend. My patrons, of course, I will let you guys know first before anything like that happens. But if you wish to become a patron, you can go to my Patreon page over at patreon.com/Rev Adam Hayden. That is patreon.com/Rev Adam Hayden. And I have got 4 tiers. The lowest tier is $5. The highest tier, I believe I have it as $40. And any patrons automatically get all my services free of extra charge because you are willing to donate not just once, but monthly, so that I can continue doing what I'm doing now. Like I said, the lowest is $5, the highest is $40. So if you want to get in on that, go over to my Patreon, sign up. Speaking of patrons, I'd like to give an extra shout out again to VJ, Jill, Elaine, and Angad. I love you guys. Hopefully you guys will enjoy our little foray into Nicaraguan, and maybe at a future date we'll even do other books. So, anyways, with that in mind, if you would like to follow me on various social media and have access to my blog, you can find that at revadamhayden.weebly.com, and all my social media stuff is on there. It's the best way to sit there and find me, and I hope that you guys enjoy this video. I will be planning a few more, and maybe we'll start doing more of this more often. And so I'd like to thank all of you for spending this time together with me today. May you have a very, very good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Be safe. God is blessed.